students, welcome to episode 23 of the Film Student Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Lazzaroni. My guest this week is Dan Murray, one of my classmates in the Cyan Cohort. We talk about contradictory writing classes, the work of Billy Zabka, and we talk about the pilot that I just finished called Time Bar, which was actually inspired by an improv scene that Dan and I did together. Let's hear from Dan. On with the show.
I've been a film fanatic most of my life, I guess. I kind of bullied myself into this, if that makes any sense.
How does that work?
So I was working in finance and accounting here in Chicago, and I just it was kind of eating me up every day. And taking classes at Second City was kind of a release for me.
So you were taking some of the improv classes here already? Okay.
And, well, not the improv classes, all writing classes.
Writing classes, okay.
And so I would always walk up past the Harold Ramis Film School, like, billboard here, and I would look at it and be like, what's that? And then I never looked into it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And, I was just taking a class one day. A student asked about it. A teacher went on a long explanation explaining how great the program was. I was like, wow, that sounds like exactly what I want to do, but that was probably a year and a half ago. I didn't feel like I had the courage to do it. I kept thinking about, oh my God, with loans and this and that, like I'm never going to be able to do it. And then eventually it just came to the point where I don't know. I made the decision. I was like, and you figure it out. Like almost like there was two of me. Like my brain was talking to myself. Like I'll make the decision, and then you figure out the rest afterwards. And I was like, oh, great. Okay.
I guess I kind of this is the story for a lot of people here, where it's like we'll figure out how to pay for it and how to make it logistically work later.
Yeah.
Like it's an opportunity. It's something that not too many other people are getting. It's a chance to try something completely different. So you were taking writing classes. So have you been doing writing for a long time, or is that something relatively new for you too?
For a decently long time. I took a class in college too, which teaches us the exact opposite of what they teach you here, because the lady didn't know what she was talking about.
Was it a creative writing class, or like
no? So it was a filmmaking class. It was part of our January term. You took one immersive class, like 3 or 4 hours a day for 3 weeks, and you got your 3 credits for it. And I remember her teaching us screenwriting there, and I was really interested in it. And she was like, and I remember what she said, because my first writing class at Second City I had with Dale, and he said pretty much the exact opposite, which was don't do someone else's job in your script. And this woman said to me at the time, if 2 directors are handed the same script, they should make the exact same movie. And I was like, oh. So I'm gonna have to be really specific.
There's a show that is proof that is not the case.
Yeah.
Did you know about that one?
No.
What was it called? It was on Stars. It was called like Making the Movie or something like that. But they literally were curious about the same thing. So the guy who produced Good Will Hunting, who's friends with longtime like childhood friends with Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Chris White? I can't remember the guy's last name. But he decided to do this competition show, and they gave the same script to 2 different filmmakers. One that was like a longtime producer that was wanting to take her first foray into directing, and the other who was a YouTube star who is used to producing all sorts of short-end content but had never created something long form. So it was each of their first direction, and gave them the same script, and they created 2 completely different movies. Like one is like a slapstick comedy, the other is like a heartwarming coming of age film. And it's hysterical how different they wound up making these. And they got the script, and so it was still an adaptation. So that it's not verbatim line for line the same thing. They were still able to adapt it and adjust it. But it's proof that you could read a script and get 2 completely different movies out of it.
Yeah.
Both of which work. Like I don't think either of them are particularly great. The slapstick one's just like kind of a gross out. It's a YouTube star style comedy.
Yeah.
The other one I liked a little bit more, but it's a little more banal. It doesn't have any real huge peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
But Yeah, like you can do a lot with the same information. That's terrible.
Yes.
What school is that
What
at?
are the actors
What
supposed
should people
to do?
avoid?
I can't say that because the class was a lot of fun, so I can't say that you should avoid it. But it was at Loris College, and
Okay.
it was a God, I don't even remember the name of the class.
Like writing for film or something like that.
You made them too, though. So like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I don't remember the name.
So you've done some actual filmmaking as well.
Yeah,
before this.
a little bit. Yeah,
A little bit. Okay. Have you ever done like a short film, like 48 hour or anything like that?
No.
Okay. You have to try one of those.
Yeah, I want to.
It's a good little kick in the pants of just like go make something. You have no time. Like just go do this. And you did the Not the Lampoon.
I did, yeah.
The one time. So you saw somewhat like that.
Yeah, I've done one of
lower
those.
stress.
I hope those come back around, or
They
maybe.
will. They're trying to do every couple months. Dustin actually asked me to talk to Kelly. They're both former guests on here, which is why I use first names.
Oh yeah, I listen.
But try and get both of them, or trying to get that rolling again. Although the idea behind it, they told me, was to try and evolve it, so it'll hopefully change even a little bit more next time around. Maybe even change names because people seem to dislike that name.
Well, yeah, because it's like handing someone a script. You should get two different things. It's not supposed to be the same exact thing.
Exactly. So what are your kind of influences coming through this? What you decided to go to comedy film school as opposed to just generic film school. What was the, what kind of stuff brought you into this? Because I know you're into Departed and Scorsese and that territory, but what's why comedy?
Well, so it's hard to say what particularly drew me to comedy. I guess it's just that I felt that too often there are two different categories of comedy where it's like, oh, either you take this as a complete farce, or it's like barely even a comedy. It's just a movie with little jokes in there. And I don't know. I felt like movies like Superbad were almost few and far between. Where like we have big jokes, but there is a true story behind this, and I missed movies like that. I wanted to make something like that, and this program just really seemed like perfect for me because it was like they say, it's like a 1-year immersive thing, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I just want to get in there and do it. I don't want to, have to take 2 years of courses before I actually make something.
I feel like movies like that too were a lot more common years ago, but they've kind of not disappeared, but they've definitely become fewer and farther between.
Yeah.
There's maybe 3 or 4 big ones a year that, like, with big names and the Will Ferrells and that sort of thing in the world. Seems like a lot of that's moved to the digital, moved to Hulu and Netflix and Amazon and all those. But so I kind of wonder if I don't know if that's a studio thing or if that's a changing tastes thing for audiences.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
The Big Sick came out last year, and that was great.
That was amazing. Yeah. That was one of my favorite films last year. That and Lady Bird.
Yeah.
Did you see Lady Bird?
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
really
awesome.
like Greta Gerwig.
Yeah. Well, and Laurie Metcalf is insane in that.
Yeah,
She's
she is
so good. But so what's that's the general course for coming into comedy. But who are your influences? Like who would you want to emulate? Is it just Seth Rogen and the Superbad territory, or what else?
I guess I feel like Judd Apatow is huge in that kind of area of filmmaking, and so I do kind of want to emulate him. I also love when I look at stand-up comedians. I think about John Mulaney all the time, and just the ability to tell a story that is so incredibly grounded in reality and make it so funny at the same time. That's what I think about. Like, that's the kind of stuff I want to do.
Yeah, you heard his Salt and Pepper Diner bit.
Oh yeah,
that I keep driving past that.
Yeah, I drove past it on the way over.
Yeah,
here. Yeah.
It's on my way into school. Although it's shut down now, but nobody's taken over the space, so it still has the banner across the top. But unfortunately, no. Oddly enough, I was watching John Mulaney clips like before you walked up. Yeah, I was watching stuff from his latest special, the Kid Gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about that cop from when he was a kid. That
Oh
used to come to
yeah,
classes.
Detective J.J. Bittenbinder.
Of course, somebody tracked that guy down and like asked him how he felt about this, and so it was the thing on James Corden where James Corden was asking him to like defend it against Bittenbinder, who's now coming out and saying, "I never wore the cowboy hat when I was in the schools," and yada yada yada.
Which is the worst thing to protest. Be like, yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah.
But that cowboy hat.
That cowboy hat, that I take offense to.
Yeah.
He apparently like takes offense to the entire thing, but that's the part where it's like, no, he wore that cowboy hat.
I remember, so my dad was a reporter in Chicago for many years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so he knew a lot of detectives. So when that bit came out, I was like, did you ever know Detective J.J. Bittenbinder? Because I remember him saying something to me from John Mulaney's sketch where he's like, don't ever go to the secondary location. And he was like, no. And then he sees the picture. He's like, yeah, I think I met that guy. I was like,
What kind of reporting did your dad do?
he did all kinds of stuff on engineering mostly. Now he works for an engineering magazine. But
So it was written reporting or
written.
Okay, gotcha. Nice. I did not know that. That's interesting. So, do you think that played into like you wanting to do more the creative end of things? Because I know you come from like an athletic family.
Yeah. It kind of did. I always wanted to do this stuff. I wanted to go into college and major in media studies, and then because I wanted to write, I wanted to be a journalist, and I got there, and they were essentially saying print is dead, and I was like, oh, well,
yeah.
And then somehow after years of not wanting to do it, I became an accounting major. But
yeah, it's that third or fourth choice major that you eventually slip into.
I was like, I promise him a job, I guess. Whatever.
And that seems to be, I feel like that's the toughest thing that you're fighting against when you decide to go do something like this is that whole angle of, you're supposed to get out of college and immediately go and get a job and make money, and versus like spend some time trying to figure out what you want to do, try and build your name in an industry, try something different. And then, so here it's interesting seeing kind of the swath of people, because how long were you in accounting and that sort of thing for?
About 3 years.
Okay, so you were still relatively close to college when you because like people like me and Max and Cindy and they've been out in the world for a while. Like it's interesting kind of going back. It feels like did you ever see that back to school movie?
Rodney Dangerfield.
Rodney Dangerfield.
Yes.
It's not that bad by any means.
Oh no, it's not terrible. Rodney Dangerfield has a few lines. Billy Zabka is always great as a jerk.
Wait, Billy Zabka,
the Karate Kid bad guy.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot he was in that one. Well, now he's in that Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
They're bringing that one back.
Which is why I remember his name. I'm not an encyclopedia, but I remember seeing the commercial come out for the Karate Kid, and they're like, Billy Zabka's back. And
no,
like,
but
what?
I will say you have a reputation for being the logical one. You are the Spock of the Cyan Cohort.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Things have to make mechanical sense in order for you to be, which I think is going to be a useful skill for you down the road. That you're going to be.
I hope so.
Like, have you done any script supervision or anything like that on a set yet?
No, I haven't. I want to.
Yeah, because I feel like that's like that continuity, things
yeah.
like that. Like you're gonna be an ace in the hole for that stuff.
Because I always feel like a jerk if I'm like operating the boom and I'm sitting there. I'm like, that napkin moved.
It's an important fucking napkin. Yeah. That napkin better come
Everyone's
back to
going to notice that the napkin moved.
When in reality, like a tenth of that stuff gets actually noticed. But you're probably one of those guys that sits and watches the YouTube videos of like all the things that are wrong.
Oh
or
everything wrong with it. Oh yeah, all the time.
So is that what you would want to go do with it? Is to go script supervision, or is it writing? What's your
writing would be the thing that I really want to do. I think the coolest thing ever would be to be on a sitcom or a sketch show and be in the writer's room. I still remember, and we get to do it again next week, having the Dick Blasucci workshop and just all of us going around spitballing ideas. I loved it. I thought that was one of my favorite things we've done at the school.
That was one of the things that you can't get that experience just on your own. Like that's something that you have to be seemingly kind of in the industry in order to get. That's why so many people, when they go into the writers' rooms, they'll go into like script assistant or something, a writer's assistant or something like that, just to be in the room, see how it works, get the experience of it before you can actually sit at the table and pitch stuff to go along with it. It's so cool here that we actually like there's that opportunity, and we get Dick Blasucci, who was former showrunner from Ad TV,
like someone who really knows what they're talking
guy
about,
who knows legitimately. Like we did that first one, and I pitched a short and then wrote it out for the next class, and he was like, "Yeah, this one's ready to go." I was like, "I'm shooting this as soon as I possibly can."
Yeah, if you say okay, I should shoot this now.
I'm going to go ahead and run with this and see what happens. What was the one that you did for that first workshop?
I did the Shtitka brothers, the guys with the adjusting lenses who formed a cult. Yeah.
Have you done anything with that one, or?
I haven't touched that one in a long time. I was thinking because he's coming back next week, and I think we're supposed to have something ready for him on day one.
Oh, are we?
I think we are.
Okay, good to know.
But I was like, I'd like to just maybe get this one together, because last time it was kind of a mess. There was too much background, not enough jokes, and I was like, I should just get this one like tighter, and have one in the background in case for whatever reason Dick Blasucci mentions to me like, how did that Shtitka thing go? I can just pull it out of my backpack and be like, why don't you find out?
I will be amazingly impressed if he remembers like specific sketches.
There is a 0% chance this happens, but just let me live in my fantasy world.
No, absolutely. You fantasize away. Yeah. But okay, so you want to go work? Yeah, TV would be fun to work in. I think it's you're here for Elise Gay Nelson when she did her talk. No. That one was interesting because she is a TV writer. Just to kind of hear the back end of how some of that world works. And I didn't realize apparently in television the different producer roles, like producer, associate producer, executive producer, a lot of those are actually writers. That in order to give them a higher pay grade because they've been around longer, they have to elevate them to like the next level up. So they're not actually doing, some of them are actually doing the production work in that, but in a lot of cases those are just writers who have a different title. So she was I think executive producer or something like that on was it Last Man Standing? Is that the
Tim Allen show?
Yeah. And so she had like a relative, but she's like, I don't produce anything. She's like, I just sit there and write.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But so as far as like the program here, since you went through, who did you have for the creative writing classes when you were going through this before Harold Ramis? Do you remember?
I had Dale at once, and I had some people I don't remember. I took them
Dale's
like
a trip.
over the course of like my 3 years in working in accounting. I took 3 or 4 classes here, and it was very sporadic, and I was working full time, and I was on business trips, and it was a very infrequent thing, but the thing I always thought about was
always the thing in your back of your mind that you were working on.
Yeah.
So did you ever produce any of the things that you wrote for those classes?
One, and it was terrible.
Why?
There were a number of problems with it. Okay, I didn't understand the point of the assignment, I think is what it comes back to. Well, no, I understood it eventually, but I wrote my script, and then the teacher keeps making these suggestions, and I was like, I don't remember his name, but he was a really nice guy, and this is something where you're actually producing it. It was like Comedic Film Production 1 or something like that. And he kept being like, well, how about there's this light from heaven here? And I was like, what on earth are you talking about? So like, that makes no sense to be in this script. And because for whatever reason, probably because I was missing so many classes, I was missing his overall point of like the assignment is to make something kind of Edgar Wright-ish where you're visually making comedy. That's the point of this class. And so I wrote this very talky scene, and then he was adding all this stuff in there, and eventually I was just like, well, this guy wants to see, and it just made no sense, and it was bad.
So you wound up shooting like his variation on it?
Yeah.
Okay. What was the sketch about?
It was about a guy who had a dream that that a friend died, and it turned out the friend was actually dead, and then he thought he was a psychic, which was not even my original premise.
It's just like the amalgamation that the class forced you into.
That was just complete camel of what my original script was. It was, I think, like a little sketch about two people arguing at a gym. Like,
yeah. I remember back to that Jim Fisher quick pitch, and that workshop was just insane because, they were just ripping apart something that I already had. I felt, from what I understand, that was in previous cohorts. That was like early in their time, like it was week 2 or 3, and it was for ours that just scheduling worked out that he couldn't come until like week 7 or 8.
Yeah.
So we were kind of not past pitching. You're always learning more about pitching, but we were past pitching on the ideas that they were asking us to pitch. Like, I feel like it would have been better to come in with something completely new, kind of like we did for Scott Dickers.
Yes.
But are you still working on any of those ideas from either of those?
Not a one.
Because the one I put together the Scott Dickers pitches when I thought I was going to be able to make it for that one. And one of the ones I put together was Time Bar.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So
I did read that too.
Yeah. What'd you think?
I thought it was really funny.
You like it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're in a creative writing class. It's finding your comedic voice with Terrence Brown, and we need to come up with, this is for the audience since I know you know all these things.
I'm there.
Yeah. But we're trying to write 10 pages a week, and so the first thing I decided to write was a sketch or a series that is based on an improv thing that you and I did, where we were. Which I can't even remember what the prompt for that one was.
I don't remember. Like, I was trying to come up with that as I was reading your script. I was like, how did we end up on Time Bar?
Yeah, and I feel like because I remember the pieces that we had was the guy behind the bar and Benjamin Franklin.
Yes.
Like, those were the two pieces.
That was like the two things we talked about in advance. Like, guy behind the bar, Benjamin Franklin,
modern
Time
bar, Benjamin Franklin from 1700s.
Yeah.
Like, but it's that one's interesting. I'm hoping we're going to do that for the staged readings.
Yeah.
Coming up, so I have to pick out probably a sequence or a scene from that one to run through.
I would go with the scene from where they get to Germany.
To England, to London.
To England?
It's London, but it's two English kids that come running through.
Yes,
yeah, that one was the joke when they come running through the door. The British are coming. The British are coming.
Yes. I thought that was really funny, but I was also like, I wonder if an actor would be able to pick up, because it switches so quickly. I was like, I think that would be a good scene to have actors read through.
Yeah, that one could be fun. And I want to. That class is interesting because we don't get to workshop things.
Yes.
Like it's purposefully about just content generation and just 10 more pages, 10 new pages that have nothing to do with not nothing to do, but they're not the pages that you've already written.
Yes.
And so they're just pushing us to get through as much new stuff as possible. What have you gotten through so far in there?
So I'm about 50 pages into a pilot about a pair of friends who are attempting to fix a horse race.
Okay.
And
yeah, I remember you talking about this.
Yes.
All right.
And so I already know that I'm going to cut this down to a half hour. I was like, okay, we'll make it an hour because there was a lot to do, but I was like, I came with an idea recently. I was like, no, this can be a half hour, kind of like a 2-part thing. Like I kind of had that idea when we were watching The Good Place the other day in class. It's fun so far. Like, I think I got a lot of good jokes in there, but like if someone were to read it, they would just be like, this is getting redundant. And I think I even brought that up in class the other day. I was like, these characters, they're always, they find themselves in this situation and they bicker back, like it, and it's getting redundant. But if I cut it down to a half hour, I'll be like, this is a tight script.
Yeah. I feel like that's got to be tough too with shows like The Simpsons that are you just retreading the same territory over and over again. How do you keep stuff like that fresh?
But I think that's the thing. Like, if you're going to go an hour with comedy, it better be an ensemble thing, like where because you bring different jokes from different characters and you can interweave plot lines and have a lot of fun with that. But a half hour, then you come back another week. Your audience, they're a little bit outside the world again. You get to bring them in a little bit once again.
Do you ever feel like you're living in a scene for too long on the page?
Oh, yes.
It's like, why is this not going anywhere? Like, I've been stuck in this room with these two characters for 2.5 pages, and I feel like nothing's actually been accomplished.
Well, what's worse for me is that like when that happens, it's usually because I'm having fun with it, and I'm like, oh God, what if they did like they could talk about this, they could talk about that, and then I look back and I'm like, okay, there's like 3.5 pages, and it's just two people talking in a bar like this. This needs to be less.
Yeah, we need to chop it down to something that's a little bit more manageable. So what are you working on now for your term 2, term 3?
Okay, so for my term 2, I pitched this. One of the days we had like 6 hours with Kat, and we were just improving ideas in the room while we were doing our one-on-ones with Kat, and I talked about the Inception beer, and so I'm doing that, working on that for my term 2 final project, which is going to be it's going to be interesting. It's I
feel like that's a good description for all of ours.
Yes. There's a lot of intercutting back and forth with the scenes. Like it's not in like one location. It's in a few locations, and then at the end, it kind of turns into my favorite movie trailer of all time, the Inception trailer.
Yeah,
and
complete with sound effects and everything.
Well, yeah. Oh, that music is going to be in there one way or another. And so I'm working on that. I think it's going to be fun. Like I'm working on locations right now, but if everything falls into place correctly, I think it'll be really, really good.
Nice. That's your term 2 or term 3?
Term 2.
Term 2. What do you know where you're doing for 3?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've pitched this a couple of times. The idea about the documentary crew.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm rewriting that script currently along with my term 2 final script, just to really tighten that down and be like, what do I need here?
Yeah. Have you started crewing up yet?
No. You?
That's slightly. I've actually started like generally trying to crew up of like people that I know I want to work with on different things. And so like I met with a director of photography that I really liked the work that he did on somebody's term 3 from last term, and Dom Udell. I don't know if you did you go to the final screenings?
I did not.
Okay. He did Tim Ferrari's final film. He shot that one, Upper Deckers. It's just really gorgeously shot film about people pooping in the upper deck of a toilet.
The title got. I didn't know it was gorgeously shot, but I figured
it is.
Second part.
It's beautifully shot. It's beautifully shot, but it is definitely silly. But yeah, so I met with him and talked about like my term 2 and 3 ideas to see if he was interested in either one of them, and he gravitated towards the term 2.
Okay.
But I think that's kind of the approach that I'm going to take with a few people. My hope is that will actually even help me rope down which is the better idea, which one's the more interesting thing, and kind of figure out, because it seems like everybody that I've talked to is like latching on more to the term 2 than the term 3. The term 2 is the clowns taking
I remember your pitch.
Yeah. And then term 3, I'm doing the grocery store, the green screen, the special effects one, which I feel like I'm just scaring people off every time that I talk about that one.
So I get why they're gravitating more towards the term 2. I mean, I like both of them. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I thought you were having a lot of fun with what you can do in the screen. In terms of term 3, but I remember like going through your pitch in adaptation when you had your slides and you're like, and all of a sudden it's a clown. I just was like, whoa, what the? I was like, I want to see that.
I want to see the clown just walk out.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to John Barnes about maybe playing the clown for that one.
Oh, okay.
Which I think would be fun. But well, cool. Well, so what have you gotten the most out of the program so far? Like, what class have you really latched on to?
I think right now I feel really latched on to finding your comedic voice in adaptation.
Yeah.
In part because those are mostly writing classes and that's what I want to do. But it's I don't know. Those are just fun days when we get to come in and talk about what we watched and talk about our ideas and go up and pitch our adaptation ideas. They're very conversational, and that in part, I think that's why I realized that I want to be in a writer's room, because I love those conversations.
The developmental stuff where you're trying to generate something out of
back
it.
And forth. I have a lot of fun with that stuff, and then I'm always excited to go home and like take those ideas and be like, and how do they apply to all the different stuff I'm writing?
Nice. Well, if somebody else were looking at either this program or something like it, what advice would you have for them?
I think I would tell them to like learn just something about a camera before you come in here. Just like, because I don't know.
There's no technical training. Like,
yeah, I don't know what I thought like about how movies were shot, but I think coming in here I was like, I'll figure it out.
It's like I could figure that out in a weekend.
They were very clear, like not a technical school, like, you know, and I was like, perfect, because I can just figure it out. It's all common sense. No. So, you know, educate yourself, understand that, you know, this is great. It makes it a lot of fun for it not to be a technical school, but you want to come in with some background knowledge, and I think that'll make it a lot easier for people.
Nice. Well, if people want to try and track you down on social media, follow along, see what you're working on, any spots they can find you?
So I have a website that's been in development for about, 3 months.
Okay.
I don't even know. Right now, it's a Weebly website, so I don't even know what the URL is going to be when
Did you try getting your own name as a URL?
No.
You should do it. See if you can get it. Let me see if there's a danmurray.com.
I guess there was a Mets pitcher named Dan Murray back in the 90s, and he was a big deal, so I'm sure he has his own website.
The site is being rehabilitated. Come back soon. So somebody has it, but is not currently using it. Let's see, danmurraycomedy.com. That appears to be open, so you could get that. So we'll tentatively
call it danmurraycomedy.com.
danmurraycomedy.com.
Thank you, Tony, for figuring that out for me.
But you have to get it before Monday, because that's when this episode goes live.
Okay.
Don't give somebody else a chance to swoop in and take it before you do.
Vultures. Listen to this podcast.
Well, awesome. Hey, man, I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And that was Dan Murray. Thank you to Dan and to the Harold Ramis Film School and the Second City staff for their help. One note, if you want to check out the Stars show that we talked about earlier on in the episode, it's called The Chair, and you can find it on Stars' website. The song on this week's episode is Tonight Our History Will End by Derek Every. You can find more of Derek's music at derekevery.com. That's DerekEvery. This show was recorded and edited by me, Tony Lazzaroni. If you want to hear more from me and my classmates, teachers, and a few special guests, make sure to subscribe to the podcast. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to send us an email at filmstudentpod@gmail.com or find us on Twitter and Instagram at filmstudentpod. And also be sure to check out some of my and my classmates' work at filmstudentpod.com. See you all next week. Class dismissed!